How's it going? This is Mr. Hernandez, and I'm going to be going over this IXL skill, J7, solving equations and completing the solution. And so today, to me, is the 14th, so I'm going to write today's date. So if you're writing this in your notebook, make sure you include the date as well as the title, which is this. Okay, so this is I would call it, let's say, problem number one. If you're recording this in your notebook, and I do want you to record all of this here, all of this. So you're gonna write all this down, and then you're gonna recopy this underneath. And I think it would be good just to draw a line down the middle. That way the equal signs lined up. Now, the interesting thing is it tells you what to do. Subtract 11 from both sides, which is the left side of the equal sign and the right side of the equal sign. So subtract 11 from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 11 here and subtract 11 here. Now, this is going to cancel out, and we're going to be left with the 3t on the left, and that's why there's only 3t on the left. Now, if you subtract 11 minus 11, you're going to get 0. So that's really the answer you're going to put into IXL. In your notebook, you are actually going to record what has been done. Now, the next step is dividing by 3 to both sides. And you can see here that the 3 is multiplying to the t. And so if we could put a dot here, and the opposite or inverse of multiplication is division. So we could divide both sides by 3. And when you have any number divided by itself, right, this is called the coefficient, and you divide it by the coefficient, you're going to get just a 1t or just t. So that's why this t gets carried down. And then 0 divided by 3 is 0. And so you could go ahead and hit that submit button, but really all you need to do is put these two zeros in, but we're showing all the other work. That's actually more important. Okay, so the next one, let's call this number 2. So number 2, and here you could see if we follow PEMDAS, when you see PEMDAS here, we have parentheses, we have multiplication, the 10 is touching the parentheses, so that's multiplying, and we have addition. So if we have addition, we're gonna start at the bottom and go up when you're solving, right? When you're solving, you're doing the opposite of PEMDAS. So we have addition, subtraction, and then we have the multiplication, division over here, multiplication, and then you have the parentheses, right? That's what you're going to do last. And so it looks like what we're supposed to do first is this addition and subtraction, but actually that's in the parentheses first. So, it's kind of weird because we think of adding and subtracting, but what was first done to the x is adding by 2, and then what was done next was multiply by 10. So if we're first adding 2 and then multiplying by 10, to reverse the order, we're going to get rid of this multiplying by 10 first, because that was the last thing done to it. And so here, it just tells you divide both sides by 10, but that's why we're dividing both sides by 10, because that's what was done last to this problem. Okay, so the x plus 2 gets carried down, and then 20 divided by 10 is 2. And so the next thing we're going to do is now take care of this subtraction from both sides, subtract by 2. And so let's go ahead and subtract 2, subtract 2. So this is going to get us 0, and that's x now being by itself, which is solved for. I forgot to draw this line down here. So we're basically, our goal is to get x by itself, and so 2 minus 2 is 0. So these are the two numbers that you would put in, 2 and 0. Okay, so this one is one of the more common ones you're going to see, so I like this one. Again, PEMDAS, if we focus on the order of operations and we do it in the reverse order, we'll get the answer. So here you have 2 times t and then plus 12. So you have the addition, which is plus 12, and the multiplication, which is times 2. And so we're going to do it in the reverse order, which is from the bottom up. So that's why we're going to subtract 12 from both sides, because it was adding by 12. So if we subtract 12 on the left and on the right, the left side, the positive 12 and negative 12 are going to be gone, and we're left with the 2t. Notice how I draw the arrows to show, where the number came from. And then 14 minus 12 is 2. And then now we can actually get rid of this this coefficient in front by dividing, because it's multiplying. So we're going to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So that's going to be gone. And now we're left with t only, and equals 2 divided by 2. Well, that's 1. And that would be the answer. But, of course, you know, these are the two things that you would plug into these boxes only in IXL. Okay, so here's another one where you have the parentheses. So you're going to want to divide. This is multiplying. And then after, so once you divide by 3, that's what it tells you to do. You're going to be left with c plus 4. Now you don't need the parentheses anymore. 12 divided by, so now I'm looking at the right side. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then the next thing we're going to do is get rid of this plus 4 by subtracting 4. That's the inverse. Subtracting 4 to the left and to the right. So on the left side, that's gone. And on the right, so that c is going to get carried down. And then 4 minus 4 is 0. So those will be the two answers that you put in, 4 and 0. Okay, maybe one more. All right, so this one is pretty much like in parentheses. If you see a bunch of stuff in the numerator of a fraction, that's pretty much in parentheses, and the denominator is being divided. Whenever you see this here, whenever you see a fraction, that means divide. Okay, so if we want to follow what was done first, so we would look at this and say, well, we started with p, and then you add 10. So that's the first thing you did, right? First is you start with p and you add 10. And then the second thing that would be done to it after you add 10 is now you're going to divide all that by 18. So then we're going to divide by 18. So if we're doing this, if this is the order that we're going in with this p, to undo it or to solve, we're going to go in the reverse order. So what was done second was dividing by 10. So we're going to undo that, which is the opposite of dividing, is multiplying by 18 actually. And then so if what was done last to it was dividing by 18, we're going to do the inverse and multiply by 18. And then the second thing we're going to do is look at the plus 10, and then we're going to you know, get rid of that by doing the inverse of plus 10, which is minus 10. So that's kind of why these are in this certain order. So if we multiply this, since this is dividing, we're going to multiply, which is the inverse, and whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Of course, we're going to draw this line to make them lined up. And if you have an 18 on the numerator and denominator, they basically cancel out, and you're left with p plus 10 now. So that just gets carried down without any parentheses. And then 3 times 18 is 54. And then the next thing we're going to do is subtract 10 from both sides. So I'm going to show that by doing this. And then 10 minus 10 is nothing, is 0. So then we don't need to write that on the left. It's just p. And then 54 minus 10 is 44. And that'll be it. So again, the most important thing when you're writing in your notebook are these steps that I'm doing in red and in blue. Yeah, in IXL, you only need to put these numbers in these boxes. But in your notebook, I want you to show each step and also show what was done to it. And it'll tell you what you need to do to it. So you're just going to copy this down on the side. But this is the really, really important stuff. All right? Okay, good luck.